Hey guys, welcome back. In this video, we're going to be looking at Stable Diffusion 0.9, which is an open source model, which went live, I think, last week. Now, trust me when I say this, it is time for us to move on from Midjourney now. Look at these generations done by model 0.9, very similar to what Midjourney does today. The only and the major difference is this is an open source model. When you first start generating images from this, you will likely be disappointed. And I'll show you why that was the case. Let's just look at an example, right? So I wanted to generate an image of a scuba diver. This is the image that was generated on Midjourney. And you can see the realism of the image is mind-blowing. And then I tried generating the same image with Stable Diffusion 0.9 and I was disappointed. But then I realized that I was making a mistake. In order to generate good images with Stable Diffusion XL, it is way more mandatory to have a style in place versus generating it without a style. So this image was generated without any style in place, and this is how it looked. And then I went ahead and applied a photographic style to the image. And look at these generations now. The hands are perfect. The environment looks photographic, and this looks way more real than this one. So note that if you're using Stable Diffusion 0.9, having correct styles in place is way more important than not having them. And this is the image that was generated by Stable Diffusion XL 0.9. Which if you compare with Midjourney, obviously it's not that good. For the next few images, you'll see that Stable Diffusion XL 0.9 does way better than Midjourney in some of the images. So for the initial 5 images, what I did is I took prompts from Midjourney, added those prompts in Stable Diffusion XL 0.9, and then I compared it with Midjourney. For the last 5 images, I've taken the prompts from Stable Diffusion XL and I've added those in Midjourney, and I've seen how Midjourney generates images for the prompts where Stable Diffusion XL does well. So this is how broadly the video is going to be today. Now, if you look at the first image, obviously Midjourney has done a great job. The amount of realism on these images is insane. I don't think this image reaches that point at this point of time. Regardless, for an open source model, this seems like a version 4 of Midjourney. The next image, this was generated by Midjourney again, and Stable Diffusion XL was able to generate an image like this. Look at the focus on the image. It's incredible. Now you can go ahead and change the styling here. You can see there are a bunch of style options. Let's say we wanted to do cinematic. So this is how the image looks when you change the photography to cinematic. Again, this is not as good when it comes to lighting when I compare it with Midjourney. But you look at these images, I personally think these are pretty good for an open source model. The next image, I wanted to see some more crowdy human-like generation. So I found this image on Midjourney where there's Mark Zuckerberg with a cow. And I tried to generate a similar image on Stable Diffusion XL 0.9. And you can see the image generation is pretty good. You can see the generation itself is very, very good. Now the filter that I've added is the photographic. You can go ahead and play around with these filters and you'll see how the image is rendered based on whatever filters you apply to the image per se. I personally think these are very good generations. Again, I keep stressing the point that this is an open source model. It only gets better from this point. Yeah, so I changed the filter and this is the new image that was generated. There's more of a cinematic filter. Okay, then this is again yet another image from Midjourney. Use the same prompt to generate on Stable Diffusion XL, and this was the result. You can, again, like I said, you need to experiment with the filters here in order to get the final image, just like you would do on Midjourney, right? In Midjourney, you would pass filters like photographic, Nat Geo photographic, focus photography. All of that you also kind of need to do here. Next, I tried this product photography. This looks more like a cinematic or an ad-based picture. I tried this on Excel and I am very impressed by the output, right? You can see the focus on the bowl and the nuts around the bowl is perfect. I mean, I could definitely use something like this for an ad. You can see this one looks very good as well. I am very impressed by all the 4 images that are generated. Now from this point, what I tried to do is I changed the sequence and I took the images from Midjourney and I took the images from Stable Diffusion XL and I put those in Midjourney. So this was the first image, a bunch of riders, seems like a more magical setting, and this was what Midjourney generated. literally gods, death. At no point did I mention gods or devils. So this was able to generate like a more cinematic generation, while Midjourney interpreted it as Midjourney kind of took in the direction of, say, Lord of the Rings or something on those lines, right? But if you compare both these images, I think I like this one better. Now I'm sure if I would have added more filters for this image, it could have generated a highly realistic image like this. Next, we tried generating this photo of a cake, sliced, some sort of a rainbow cake. And Midjourney did a very good job generating the cake itself. Again, this was a photographic generation, and this seems too like a product photography generation. Then I tried a human face. Again, the prompt is very short, and this is what Stable Diffusion XL generates for this, and this is what Midjourney generates. Again, if you look at both these images, right, this one looks way more realistic. Not like this one does not, but maybe the detailing of this image is way more realistic than this one. Then I tried night photography, photo of a dog wearing glasses, and this is what Midjourney generated. The lighting is different here because the filter is cinematic. Now if I go ahead and change it to photographic, something else will be generated like I mentioned, right? And yeah, again, you can generate a few images for free. It's an open playground, so if you want to go ahead and play around, I think you can do it. Anywho, you can see when you change the filter, the kind of lighting and the setting changes, right? Okay, next we tried this origami sort of a lion covered with autumn leaves, and this was what Stable Diffusion XL generated, and this is what Midjourney generated. While this looks fantastic, I think this looks a bit more real because the leaves are aligned. Well on these ones. Finally, I tried this anime-based generation on Stable Diffusion XL, and I'm pretty impressed by the XL generation because, like, if you try the older versions of Stable Diffusion, you wouldn't see generations like these coming out. And this is what Midjourney generated. I think these ones look pretty good too. So the point being that while Midjourney is like a more closed source model, Stable Diffusion XL 0.9 is an open source model, and you can leverage the model to, you can basically install it in your own personal computer if you have the requirements and run it for free as much as you would want to. While for Midjourney, you still have to go ahead and pay, right? So yeah, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to talk. I'm really impressed by the progress that 0.9 has made, and I think this is the model that will make us move from Midjourney to Stable Diffusion, or maybe make us move away from Midjourney after looking at the generations first. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you so much. Have a good one.